All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kabbalah Café. So we started a new series 2 weeks ago. We just did our opening class, and now it's time to really get into it. Sandrine, welcome. Good to see you. The class is entitled "All for the Sake of Heaven." We're focusing on this book right here. I'll put it right here. I believe it's available online, so if you want to purchase it, you certainly can. But I have copies for it. Yeah,
I'd also like to take a picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but I first want to start with a little discussion about the day, because it is the 17th of Tammuz, which is one of the sadder days on the Jewish calendar. And to explain the reason for this, it's important to note the historical events. So our sages tell us that historically, 5 things happened on this day that were negative. Number one, I mentioned this yesterday at Davening 101. Number one, Moses broke the tablets. When he came down from the mountain, from Mount Sinai, and saw the Jewish people worshiping the golden calf, he summarily smashed the tablets, and that happened on the 17th day of Tammuz, this day, many, many thousands of years ago. That's number one. Number two, the second thing that happened on this day was that for the first time in many, many years, on this day, in the era of the first temple, the Tamid, the Karban Tamid, which is the daily offering, ceased to be brought, and it was because of the siege that was placed on the Jewish people on Jerusalem, the siege around the temple. They could not bring the offerings, and thus, after so many years, the offering stopped. There was a Torah scroll that was burned on this day, and hey, good morning, good to see you. There was a Torah scroll that was burned on this day, and there was an idol put up in the temple. And finally, the fifth thing that happened on this day is in the era of the second temple. This is the day that the Romans breached the walls of Jerusalem, leading to 3 weeks later, the temple being destroyed and burned to the ground. So this is the beginning of a time period in the Jewish calendar known as the 3 weeks. It's named so quite literally because it's the 3-week period between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av. And it's typically a day that was associated with mourning and fasting and prayers and petitions and recollections of what we had and what we lost, etc. And it's a day that begins this period in which we try to minimize the kind of like super joyous occasions. So we don't schedule weddings this time in these 3 weeks, etc. So that's kind of how we're the way that this is marked for on the Jewish calendar. Now, one thing I want to get into is a bit of a Kabbalistic insight into this. So first of all, the Kabbalists tell us that every mitzvah, every commandment that God gives us, God observes himself. It's a bit of a hot take, because what does that mean? But every mitzvah, unlike human beings that might say, do as I say, but not as I do, God is consistent. Every mitzvah that he gives us is a value that he himself respects. I know I'm using he and himself and, male, whatever it is. God is not a gender, but nonetheless, for ease of conversation, we're just going to go with it. So God himself gives us the things that he values. It's like a story that I love telling with Bertrand Russell, who was a professor, mathematician. You've heard me say this a number of times. Anyway, so this guy, he was a professor of ethics, mathematics, and philosophy, and many things at Ivy League University back in the last century. And at some point, he was found out to have been engaged in some immoral activities. And so one of his colleagues called him out on it and says, "You teach ethics and you're involved in something unethical." He says, "Why are you surprised? I teach trigonometry and I'm not a triangle." Meaning, you could theoretically argue that you don't have to be what you profess, right? You can teach something and not be it. So God could theoretically give us, say, be kind, be generous, chesed, tzedakah, charity, don't take life, respect property, etc. But I don't keep that. I'm just telling you what you should do. But our sages say no, that what God tells us to do, he himself does. In fact, it's not that he has to, it's like, sometimes a parent might like tell their kid something and be like, oh, shoot, now I have to do it. Great. I just backed myself. I painted myself in a corner. That's not how it works. The way it works is that that which God values, he gives us to value. Hopefully we value what he values. So the question that thus becomes, how do we explain the destruction of the temple? The Bible, the Torah says, there's a mitzvah that says you're not allowed to even destroy any brick, any stone from the temple. In other words, you and I, we couldn't, if there was we wouldn't be able to, dismantle, mess up, ruin God's temple. So the question is, how did he do it? Now, you're thinking, he didn't do it. The Romans did it. And before that, the Babylonians did it. He didn't do it. Okay. However, nothing can happen without God's green light, in a sense. So if that's the case, and I know this opens up more questions about how other tragedies happen, etc. But be that as it may, this question the mystics ask: how is it that God essentially facilitated the destruction of his own temple, of his own home, when he tells us that we can't do that? So how did he do it? If he keeps every mitzvah that he gives us, how could he do it? So here we have quite a daring answer. And I know I'm saying this quickly, but this is not the main lesson I'm going to get to. So this is kind of a bit of a special lesson for the day. So the mystics tell us that when is there a prohibition to demolish the temple? That's only if the aim is destruction. But what if theoretically the aim was not destruction, but construction, meaning you were removing something to build it bigger and better? What would be the law then? The law would be absolutely you would be allowed to do it. So for example, you also theoretically, in Jewish law, you can't just demolish a synagogue. It becomes very tricky, actually, like even in modern times. Like what happens if the Jewish community kind of moves away from that neighborhood? And now you have a synagogue. Are you allowed to sell it? Are you allowed, like, what do you? So it's a little bit tricky about how to navigate it, because we understand that a synagogue, this is not even about the holy temple of old. This is like even in modern day synagogues, they have an element of holiness that you don't want to degrade, right? You don't want to like diminish that. So you have to kind of tiptoe around it. But what if you want to knock down the synagogue to build a bigger one in its place? Would that be any problem? The answer is it's not a problem. It's absolutely allowed. In fact, my understanding is, Toba, how long have you been in this community?
25 years.
Do you remember the old structure on this property?
I do.
You do? What'd they do with it?
They knocked it
down to build it. There was a house, right? It was a house. I wasn't here then, but there was a house here. They knocked it down to build this building. 1 second. Whoa, how can you knock it down? We're praying in the house. It's a house of prayer, a house of study. You can't just knock down a house of prayer, a house of study. You can, if it's not about destruction, if it's about construction. I mean, listen, I've been in a waiting room or two watching HGTV, like that. Right. Demo day. They come with the sledgehammers. They knock it down. Right. It's not about destruction. It's about construction. It's about building. So that being said, our understanding is that the 3 weeks, when we recall the loss of the past, the mystics remind us that there's another way to look at it. It's painful. It's a loss, etc. It's a loss we've been feeling for a lot of years. But look at it less of destruction and more of construction. You couldn't get a bigger and better version if you still had the same. And the truth is, it's a message in life as well. One of the most amazing things about nature is that it reflects a lot of Kabbalah, a lot of mystical teaching. So for example, you take a seed and you put it into the ground. You're planting something. You take a seed, put it into the ground. What happens to the seed? So, the seed kind of disintegrates and becomes part of the earth. And then what happens is something grows. Flowers, plants, trees, whatever, something grows. I mean, we're in Atlanta. So let's say you plant peach seeds for a peach tree, right? So, you plant the seed, it opens up, and then it grows. What if you take, I I don't know, some sort of sealant, and you paint the seed to make sure that it remains intact. You put into the ground. It's not going to grow. It's not going to grow. It has to open up. It has to break down before it builds up. That's the truth in life. The truth in life is, if you want something, if you want to remain a seed, no problem. Take lacquer, whatever it is, right? Paint it up, seal it in, preserve the seed. Maybe even put it in a museum. Here's the seed, the original seed. It's great. Put it behind a lucite thing. Here's the seed. But if you want real growth, if you want something exponentially greater than a seed, if you want a tree that will bear fruit, that will then create more seeds and create this cycle in perpetuity, in this way that's kind of an almost infinite level of growth, if you want that, you have to be ready to break down. You have to be ready to lose everything you have. If you have what you had, no, let me try that again. If this is something I once heard from one of my teachers. If you think what you thought and you say what you said and you do what you did, you'll have what you had. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Right? The only way to get change is by changing. Hey, good to see you, Ramon. Follow the signs. You saw it on the sign?
I did see it.
See that? My signs worked.
I missed the big one they had, the mystic Kabbalah thing. It was a mystical experience. Gourmet breakfast. Yeah.
Oh, which?
I came up here last week.
Oh, that
Was y'all out for Independence Day?
I was out last week, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Maybe you're getting another mystical communication.
No.
Clearly, there's another mystical. Anyway, so the point is like this: if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you want change, look, I'll give you the original language. Okay, I'm going to give you the original Hebrew language. Yesh means something. Ayin means nothing. So creation, for example, creation is conceived of as, and the mystics talk about creation in the terms yesh me'ayin. Yesh me'ayin. Something from nothing. Well, what does that mean? Hold on. God is nothing? Whoa. You calling God nothing? God's like, who are you calling nothing? Okay. What it means is that material, physical existence comes out of nowhere. Meaning, it's not like a lot of things evolve here on planet Earth once things get started. Even what I said before, see, things kind of like start off, or an artist, you take paint and you put on a canvas, create something new. You take a piece of wood and you craft it into something, spectacular and interesting. You take a piece of metal and you make something, wonderful. All of these things represent yesh me'yesh, something from something. You had something and I have a new something. But the something that you have now didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of the previous something. Human beings can't create something out of nothing. Something out of nothing would mean that you walk into an empty room and you conjure up something, poof, out of nowhere. You know who does that? God. Only God can do that. It's like the joke that they say, the scientists turn to God and say, we don't need you anymore. We figure out how to create things. And God's like, really? Yeah, we don't need you.
And not only that, Rabbi, there's a parallel that we can see, a reflection that we can see in physics.
Yeah.
Where if they take, a vacuum and they remove literally all the atoms out of it, there's this thing called quantum fluctuations that happen. There's literally, if you have nothing, it's within our reality's nature and in God's nature as well to actually create from nothing. Like you cannot have a box of nothing.
Interesting.
Yes, you will have quantum fluctuations, which will create something.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing.
1 second. Back to my joke. I do want to hear. Now, hold on 1 second. Is it getting a little cold in here? Is it a little chilly?
No, it's fine.
Is it good? Okay. All right. Just checking in. I got like a nice thick wool situation. All right. Back to the story. Back to the joke. So the scientists said to God, we don't need you anymore. We don't need you anymore. We can create also. You created, we can create. Yeah, we create life, human life, whatever life, clone things. We got it. God says, really? Yeah. How about a little contest? Sure. God says, but we got to do it old school. Like I created man, human from earth. We got it. We can do it from earth also. God says, go for it. So the scientists go and pick up some earth. And God says, whoa, get your own earth. We're good at taking something and making another something from it. We're really good at that. I mean, that's actually amazing. We take something and create new stuff out of it, and it's actually spectacular. We've done a lot with that. But for us to create something out of nothing,
De novo.
good luck. I mean, imagine everyone would be making millions out of nowhere. I mean, like that would be kind of cool. It's not happening. Can't make
that mistake even tohu vabohu, like that.
Yeah.
That they think void means nothingness. It's not. It is not the truth. It's Costco's here. It's like spiritual Costco. Like Hashem has made everything. It's like a huge warehouse. We're, as you said, in our community, we can go, we can pick anything we want and make something with it. And then we use the word creation, but we're not,
right?
Because there's something that's already there.
Correct.
We're just recrafting, rebranding. But Hashem can make something not only exist but unexist historically.
Correct.
Poof. Yeah.
Hey Sam, good to see you.
Even in first letter of the Torah, like it's a conundrum. Is it mean in the world, in a world, meaning multiple worlds? And Hashem can just decide to crash everything.
But to your point, which is very important, the Ramban Nachmanides explains that the word bereshit, which means bara, the idea of create, is only in Hebrew only applies if you're really creating something from nothing. If you're changing the form of something, if you're taking a piece of metal and shaping it into something, or you're taking a piece of wood or paint or whatever, if you're modifying something, that's called formation. That's not called creation, right? We say creativity, creators, creation, right? We use all these words, but in precise Hebrew, the word bara is only used when it comes to creation of something out of nothing. So God is good at creating something out of nothing. The truth is that when it comes to our reality, we borrow these terms because we can't literally create out of nothing. So we say, if something is innovative enough, we'll just call it creation. Didn't come from nowhere, but we'll just, we'll grant it the creation, the good housekeeping creation seal of approval. We'll say, oh, you created something. Mazel tov, you did well. That's what we'll do to grant it. But the thing is that the mystics tell us that if you ever want to go from one state to a radically different state, there has to be an absence in the middle. There has to be an ayin, which means nothingness, in the middle. So, for example, there's a line that I believe comes from recovery that says, "When you're down to nothing, God's up to something." And that's the line, right? When you're down to nothing, God's up to something. As long as you remain, and this is true for everybody, as long as you remain your original yesh, your original being, then what you see is what you get. When somebody opens up, for whatever reason, it could be intentional, it could be self-induced, it could be, life-induced. When you open up, there's a potential for almost like a recreation or a birth or a renewal that is radically different than the prior. And getting back to the theme, again, the mystical theme of this time period that we find ourselves in, the 3 weeks, starting today with the 17th of Tammuz, it's very important to recognize that mystically, if you look at it on a standard understanding, very sad days, days of mourning and destruction and loss, etc. But if you look at it through a different lens, in addition to the sadness, not to take away from that, in addition to that, there's also an opportunity. In the absence, there's an opportunity for greater growth. Sam, how long have you been here in this community? I asked over the same thing. How many years?
He came here around
before this building was built. Before this, or with the new building?
right after they've done it.
Right after the new building. Okay.
Came here around 2000.
Got it.
2001.
Got it. Oh, Space Odyssey.
No, I got it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I was saying before that if you want something radically different, you got to knock it down. I mean, there's plans to, revamp this space shortly. You can't revamp it and keep it. You're going to knock down walls. You're going to tear everything out. Oh, it's a tragedy. Hold on, tragedy? Look at the new plans. It's not a tragedy. It's step one, first step two. You can't have something radically greater if you're holding on to what you have. This is true again for ourselves in our personal lives. If we're holding on to our identity, we can't embrace something radically greater. Okay, so that's a little bit about the 3 weeks, 7th of Tammuz, the 9th of Av, which is coming up in 3 weeks from today, and some personal message we can take from that. Today's topic I called the peace process. It's not about, don't worry, it's not about the Middle East. That's a longer conversation, and whoever can solve that one, give them Today we're talking about internal peace, and I'm going to define what I mean. The one thing we know, even if you watch, cartoons back in the day, the one thing you know is that human beings are filled with conflict. What I mentioned about cartoons, right? Remember they sometimes used to have like the little angel on one shoulder and the little devil on the other shoulder and be like, oh, right, do this, no, do that, do this, do that. Human beings are constantly pulled in different directions. I want to give a few terms, share a few terms that you might be familiar with, and kind of break down where the tension is coming from. So on the most blatant level, we would say that the tension exists between the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. What are these terms? Yetzer Tov means the good inclination. Yetzer Hara means the evil inclination. Each one of us has, like the little angel devil thing, not literally that on the shoulder, but we have internally a drive that suggests that we do something good, and we have also a drive that suggests that we do something that's not so good. And we are in the middle of that tension. On a more subtle level, it's not necessarily only the divide between good and evil. It might be within the divide might be between selfless or selfish, even if the selfish is not evil. So the way that the Kabbalists explain it is the divide between the ego, which is self, and that which transcends the ego, i.e. the godly soul versus the animal soul. It's no longer good versus evil. It's divine versus the inner animal. What's the inner animal? The inner, it's not evil. Animals are not evil, but it's self-oriented. It's about me. Now, the way the mystics explain this, obviously it's not based on a word, but the word is being used to describe a concept. The concept is that you have a drive within us, or what part of ourselves are selfless or is selfless. Part of us has the capacity to transcend self, to connect with someone else, to be there for someone else. We've all seen it, we've all experienced, we've all felt it, and we've all given it. The idea of being selfless, transcending self-interest. I want to sleep in today, but someone needs me. I'm going to get up and make sure to take care of their needs. Any parent that woke up in the middle of the night to take care of their child experienced that concept of selflessness. Does the new mom not want to sleep in? Of course she does. She wants to wake up 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I don't know. That's whatever frequency it is, right? So yes, she does. Because she's putting the interests of her newborn baby in front of her own. That's what it means to be selfless. It's not only true for moms. Human beings, we all have the capacity to do. Now, whether we exercise it or how often we exercise it, that's our choice. But do we have the capacity to do that? Absolutely. But do we have the capacity to put someone else's interest before ours? Right? Even on a very mundane level, right? We're with friends or with someone that we care about, and what movie should we watch tonight, or which restaurant should we go tonight? Well, what do you want? Okay, we'll do what you want. Even that small gesture is an act of putting someone else before yourself. So we have a higher self. Higher self is defined as the ability to really transcend self. Lower self is the ego self. That's the part of us that says, no, I want, I need, I have to have. No, I come first, not you come first, I come first. That's the part that digs our heels in and says, no, ego, me, I need, I want. That's the part of us, again, it's likened to an animal, not that, again, we're not judging animals, but it's called the animal soul. It's also called the natural soul. It's more the natural, biological, human, I would say reactive soul. It's the part of us that is very much concerned for our own well-being. By the way, if we did not have this soul, it would be a little dangerous. We might give away everything for someone else. If we only had a higher self and not a lower self, we might overextend ourselves to the point of neglecting ourselves and put ourselves in peril. So we have a balance between a higher self and a lower self, but that creates a point of tension, right? At any moment, we might be wondering, well, what should I do? Should I put forward my interest or the interest of the other? Like, what should I do? That creates another point of internal tension. And then we have good versus evil inside. It's more dramatic, whatever. Then we have like higher versus lower, it's a little bit more subtle. And then we have another, it's not even a duality. What's four? Quadality? I don't know, whatever. Four different things. And what I'm referring to is the human parallel of the four supernal worlds. The Kabbalists speak of four worlds that exist. Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. The world of emanation, the world of creation, the world of formation, and the world of action. We inhabit the lower half of the world of action. Huh. Thank you, Tova. Or Sam.
I get it.
I got it.
See? Look at the selflessness. It's unbelievable, right? Higher self manifesting. Thanks, Tova. Let's see who that is. Hey, Sandrine. Welcome. I was hoping it was you. Good to see you. Okay. We the room today wasn't available, so we're here. At least it's cool. See, my signs are coming into handy.
Yeah, very
See
much
that?
so, very much so.
Oh, I saw.
Yeah, we had you on before. Yeah.
Nice.
Listen, we were talking about manifesting something from nothing. So if we could manifest you from, a box on the computer, can you imagine, from Zoom, can you imagine what we can create together? All right. So then there's another. So now let's talk about 4 dimensions. We talked about 2 dimensions and another 2 dimensions. Let's talk about 4 dimensions. So again, I know I said this a second ago. Let's rewind and then continue. The Kabbalah speak of 4 worlds: Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya, emanation, creation, formation, action. We live, we inhabit. This reality is but the lowest point of the world of action. There's even a spiritual world of action. Can you imagine? With a name like action, you would think it was all spirit, it was all physical. No, there's the spiritual side of the world of action. We are the physical tip, the bottom tip of the world of Asiya, the world of action. Now, the mystics say, scripture tells us, Gam et haolam natan b'libo shel adam. The world too was placed in the heart of the human being. You know that song? I got the whole world in my hand, but we have the whole world, right? Is that the song? Did I butcher it? I don't know if I did. This is called Kabbalah Café. It's not Kabbalah and karaoke. Thank you. I was looking for an alliteration there. But nonetheless, I don't mind trying. So here we go. The Kabbalists tell us that we also have all 4 dimensions inside of us. We have emanation. We have creation. We have formation. We have action. And you're thinking, what are you talking about? So here's how the Kabbalists explain it. And this is a truth in life. And I'm sure you'll relate to this. We are divided into 4 dimensions: physical, emotion. It's from the bottom up now, not from the top down, from bottom up. Physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual. Those are the 4 dimensions. There's our physical reality. There's our emotional reality. There's our intellectual reality. And then there's our spiritual reality. Think about it. You can have somebody at work sitting behind a desk doing some work, and it might just be the only thing invested in the work are their hands. They're typing. That's it. Or physically they're engaged. Emotionally, they're thinking about something that just happened with a friend, with a family member, with a roommate, with a whatever, with the landlord. And they're emotionally like, whatever. Intellectually, there might be a third place. Intellectually, you're thinking about, you have ideas about something or aspirations, whatever. Spiritually, your values, not what I'm doing here. There's not my value in life. I have values are somewhere else. It could be that a person going through their day has their spiritual values in one place, their thoughts in a different place, their feelings in a third place, and their action in a fourth place. Completely disjointed. It's possible. When I say possible, it happens quite often. And it's almost always.
And
Yeah.
you also have your different parts of your
Yeah, well, I mean, but even if we just divide into four, right? We keep it simple, relatively simple. Physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual. By the way, I always say this. Now I'm quoting myself. Wow. No, I always say this, that like in relationships, talk about compatibility. Are two people compatible? Which dimension? Physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. What's the Holy Grail? What do you think?
All four?
All four. All four. The lower it is, the more temporary it is. By definition. The higher it is, the deeper it is, the more anchored it is. No one ever looked the same. 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 105, 115, 120. Never happened. Never happened. Not even Dick Clark. I mean, he tried to hold out for a long time. Is he still with us?
I don't think so.
Shame. I'm not trying. I'm not poking fun. I'm just saying, you have some people age very well. But I'm just saying, like, no one looks the same. Well, you want to anchor a relationship based on just the physical? That's like the most shifting part. Oh, okay. Well, with an emotional connection, then for sure it's going to work. I don't know. People will have different moods. You wake up, you're excited about one thing, and the next day you wake up, you're excited about something else. I'm not excited about that anymore, right? Ideas a little bit more, okay, hopefully a little bit more, solid. Values, hopefully the values don't change that much. I mean, like, hopefully we get, good value. But once we're anchored into something of positive value, we should stay there. So anyway, but that's an aside. The point is we have four dimensions to our being. Back to relationships for a second. I was segueing out, but let me segue back in. You meet someone, it's like, oh, we like the same movies. Oh, we're meant for each other. Slow it down. Take it easy. Hold on one second. Is that emotional compatibility? That's great. Huh? Well, it might be emotional. I don't know if it's ideas. I really love the theories of Forrest Gump. I don't know that it's like Shawshank Redemption. The concept is like, I'm going to write a thesis about it. I don't know if that's what it is. It might be more of an emotional thing. Whatever, but like, I'm not to knock it. It's fine, but it's a level. Obviously, you have to have physical compatibility, emotion, grav awful. The ideal is the Holy Grail, to mix, whatever, is if they're all four are there and aligned with each other. But forget about someone else. It's about ourselves. How often are we ourselves misaligned? Imagine, God forbid, someone's back, spine, x-ray scan, whatever, and it's going zig and zag and zig and zag. Be like, we got to do something about this. You can't be out of alignment like that. But in our personal lives, sometimes it's kind of like that.
Oh.
Right? The job that we're doing is here. Our emotions are there. Our ideas are there, and our values are somewhere else. And we're like zigzagging. And then we wonder why it is at the end of the day we're not feeling so happy. I don't know, because we're all over the place. So the goal is, I mean, I don't want to reduce it to like a cliche. The goal is inner harmony. I don't know. I'm not going to say let's close our eyes and put our hands together and like meditate and float. But I'm on a very real way. It's about harmony. It's about getting on the same page within ourselves, but not being so broken up. We live in a fragmented world. We live in a world. Forget about. Okay, now let me take it like another angle on this. Forget about our own internal fragmentation. Think about even within the hours of our day, how many different things we're doing, right? Maybe going to work, and then we're going to get food, and then we're making the food, and then we're eating food, and then we're meeting friends, and then we're going here, we're going there, right? We're doing all these different things. At the end of the day, you might feel like, well, I did all of these things. I feel I had a good day. But if there's nothing that unites them, at a certain point, it might like start tearing us apart. It might start feeling like the heaviness of existence might be overwhelming. What am I doing? Right? I feel like I'm being broken apart. I feel like I'm out of sorts. I feel like I'm out of sync. So the key is harmony. The key is internal harmony. The key is also external harmony. What I mean by that is that the things that we do, the activities that we do, we recognize how it's part of a larger single thread. There's a single thread, part of a larger thread. I don't know that sentence made sense, but the point is that there's a thread that's running through everything that we do. And there's a way that we can design our lives that it should be like that. And it doesn't mean not working, quitting our jobs and all, studying and meditating and all that. It's not what it means. You can still be behind the desk. You could still be, sitting in traffic on the 400. I remember when the 400 was a toll road. Who remembers that? Remember that? So we had lived in New York, huh? Wasn't that long ago. But hold on one second. 400 was a toll road. You can still see the toll booths if you pay attention. I mean, you can still see where they were. I remember, so we drove up. One place, yeah.
Yeah, south of here on the way down.
Right south of here. Anyway,
They have construction equipment on each side.
Right now they use it as like a storage place. What's interesting is I remember because we drove our kids up. We were living in Regional Heights. We drove our kids up over here to school, and I remember that like we had the Easy Pass. Most people, for whatever reason, did not have the Easy Pass, so they're waiting to pay the toll, and it was easy breezy. The day after they took down the toll booths, traffic. It's unbelievable what like $1 difference $1 can make as far as people like, oh, that's a great road. Let's all hit the road. I digress. I don't even know why I got there. Maybe just sitting in traffic, how that could be part of a greater whole. The point is that whether we're working or we're eating or we're socializing or we're sitting in traffic or taking the kids to different places, it doesn't matter what you're doing. There is a way to unify life. The goal, the title is All for the Sake of Heaven, which without getting into the specifics of the title implies, when you say all for something, it implies some sort of harmonization, right? Some sort of bring together, that everything should be under one umbrella. Imagine that. Can you imagine? Sometimes people that work in a company, they're not really sure what they're doing. It's possible. You could work at a company and not really be sure what you're doing, right? Like, I mean, what you're actually doing, but you don't really know why you're doing what you're doing or where it fits into the larger piece. Like your job is to do that thing. I don't know what I'm doing. And eventually it feels it can get, they tell a story. There's an old mystical parable. I don't know that the story ever happened. About a guy who's taken, who's imprisoned, very harsh conditions. And every day he's forced inside inside the walls of his confinement to turn this heavy wheel. Every day, harsh labor, he has to turn this big wheel. Year after year, 30 years he's doing this. And he imagines that on the other side, there's a mill. On the other side, there's something. He's doing something. Turning the wheel is doing something. They finally let him out after 30 years. And the first thing he does is run to the other side of the wall. There's nothing there. And he just collapses. We can tolerate, this is also Viktor Frankl, right? Humans can tolerate almost any how if we have a why. Mm-hmm. But if there's no why, then even the smallest how becomes unbearable. That's my addition to what Viktor Frankl said. If we don't see purpose, if there's no meaning, if there's nothing bigger that pulls it all together, then the weight of existence becomes almost too heavy. It's like, why am I doing this? Why am I waking up every morning? Like, what's the point? What's really the point? What am I doing? Just to do this, to then do it again tomorrow, to do it again the next day. What's it all about? So people naturally seek meaning. You know, we all begin, I think, most people, children, we begin with some sort of idealism. Well, we begin with innocence and naivete. And then there's some, you know, the kind of like the arc. And then there's, you know, some sort of idealism, like I'm going to change the world in some way. I have dreams that, but then at some point, I think a lot of people, I don't know, most people, I haven't polled everybody, so whatever. Our polls are down. But anyway, like, I think a lot of people, some people, maybe even one person gets a sense of like, what's it all about? Like, what's it for? Okay, I'm doing nice things, but what's the point? Is there a point? Is there something that this is all about? Is there a way that I can bring together all of my activities into something meaningful? Or is there only meaning in very small windows of my life? Very small, you know, apertures, when the lens opens a very small, narrow space of meaning, but typically, you know, everything is futile and meaningless. It's a very difficult place to be in without wonder. Kabbalah teaches us that just as God is one, we also can be one. I don't mean on the same exact level, but the point is that we can bring things together. We can bring together internally and externally the factors, the pieces of our lives and of our character, so that we are in more alignment, more centered, more in harmony, and with less dissonance. The key is to live with less dissonance. The more friction, the more dissonance, the more life is, the more pain there is in life. With more harmony, less pain. Make sense? All right, good. Now what we're gonna do, now that we've solved that problem, look, the first step is to identify what's going on, right? So that's step one, identifying the challenge. This is not a unique challenge to us or 2020. I'm not trying to take away our uniqueness either. Sorry, we're all unique. However, it's not a unique challenge to today. It's always been a challenge. Always been a challenge. But it's been a challenge since human beings were human beings. Adam and Eve had a challenge, right? God said you can eat from any of the trees in the field except for one, right? Cut to the next scene, and they're eating from that tree. There's always a challenge of like, yeah, I'm connected except for, you know, the thing that I'm going to do for myself on the side. I'm going to have my own, like, I'm going to have a side, you know, little side apple that I'll just, you know, wasn't an apple, but like, whatever. No one has to know. I have an apple on the side. What's the big deal? Right? Or make deals with God, a little for you, a little for me. I'm hooking you out. Like I'm doing my thing, but I'm gonna also do my thing for myself. I'll do some for you, do some for me. Make deals. Right? We barter. We negotiate. We negotiate with ourselves, right? We want certain things, certain blessings, certain, you know, happy things in our lives. And say, okay, if I do this, you know, make deals with God. It's like the joke about the guy who's late for a meeting. He's looking for a parking spot. And he says, God, please, you know, hook up a brother over here. Like, you got to give me a parking spot. Like, I really need this meeting. I gotta, and there's no parking spot. And he says, you know, if you get, I'll go to shul, I'll go to synagogue. It's like, no parking spot. I'll come, you know, every day this way. Fourth time around, the spot opens. The guy says to God, oh, you know what? Deal's off. I got to. But that's kind of the human condition. That's how we roll. It's like we, you know, times get tight. But we're very good at siloing things. And the problem is with a siloed life, I don't think I'm that old, but I'm old enough to remember pre-smartphone. Pre-smartphone, like you had to have a lot of different devices. I think one thing that smartphones teach us is the idea of harmony, right? It's a flip phone, but it's also a smartphone, right? So this is like, I mean, it used to be you had to have a camera and a video camera, right? People had. You had a camera, well, point and shoot action. Oh, I mean, if you were fancy, you had a fancy camera, but that's like, you know, but basically you had a point and shoot.
Yeah.
And then you might have like a video camera. You know, remember video cameras? Right? Those things were a thing, if I recall.
I remember Skype.
Skype.
My gosh. Do you know what I recently heard?
Told me about it, and I was like, so why don't everybody use it? Like if it's free,
It took a pandemic. You know what? I used to. I'll tell you what happened with Skype. I'll tell you what happened with Skype. I hope I'm not offending any folks from Microsoft, but like I think it's about Skype. But Skype, well, because I use Skype on occasion for meetings, or like people wanted to join classes on Skype. This is back in the day. People are like, oh, I think Mariana's joining us from Chile, right? From Santiago. I think we had, because they, Mariana and Alex were, for a year in Atlanta, and then, and I was like, oh, well, maybe Skype. I remember Skype was notoriously not stable. Like Skype would cut out. It really, the technology. Also, I think the internet speed, things just weren't. I think it catches on when it can catch on, and it caught on when it caught on. But like I think the internet, the connection was there. The Skype though, remember the tune? It played a tune when you were connecting. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like a little bit of a song and a dance to the game. Yeah, my washer and dryer gives a song. I don't know what the deal is. I'm like, all right, woo, dancing to the laundry. It's like laundry, the musical. The point is, okay, now I have to rewind. Hold on. I unspooled maybe a little too much. What were we talking about?
Phones.
Oh, yeah.
Harmonizing.
Harmonizing. So think about it. So you had, you had a calculator at your desk. Yeah, calculator.
Hey, I was around before we had calculators.
Wait, you had beads? What'd you have? No.
Right.
You didn't have electric calculators?
Well, you had a big machine.
Oh my God, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
Really?
And when they came out with the first little, Hewlett Packard, they had a little portable calculator.
Yeah.
Well, I was working in New York as a financial analyst at me, and the guy was above me. We said, but they had a budget. We could only spend $100. The company season. So we were going around Times Square to every little store. We'd go out for lunch every day and see if we could get some guy to sell it to us for $100.
How much were they?
120, 130. But so we finally got $100. He wanted tax. We said, no, we can't do that. You got to throw it. We finally talked to the guy that we came back to the office. We were like,
with the calculator. How big was it? Was it like handheld? Like a regular? I can't. So truth is,
basic.
I was born, 79. I was born post calc, but I didn't even realize that. I guess there was a time. The point is, like, there were so many devices. You had to have a calculator, or even pre-calculator. You had to have
slide rules.
Before then, you had
slide.
You had mechanical stuff. But then you had a camera. You had a video camera. You had a flashlight. Flashlight. You had you have to actually carry a wallet with money in it. Now, like when I was a little boy,
get everything. Yeah.
Had phones with no dial, with no
Rotary.
Oh,
but before rotary.
Before rotary.
My grandmother was in Glenville, Georgia. We go there. You pick up the phone. The local operator answers.
No, really.
And she looks out the window. She said she just left the store. She went across the street. When she gets back, I'll have her call you back.
Where was this omnipresent operator?
I grew up in Augusta. In Augusta, we already had a dial phone.
I remember my grandparents had the rotary.
Yeah,
I had the rotary.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I had.
I remember they didn't want to switch over to touchtone because it was like touchtone. Like, what's that? What is this voodoo of touchtone? Like, and eventually the phone company said, like, you can't use pulse anymore. Like, there's no shot. You got to go to touchtone. So they opted in for the touchtone.
It's crazy to think that God willing, this is gonna be like us.
Say it again.
Like God willing, like, this is gonna be like me and her, like one of these days. Like I remember you used to have to like type into the address bar.
Right. Can you imagine
Yeah,
that? Can you imagine what's coming?
What? Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's crazy.
Today I was proud because between the Waymo and the
Self-driving cars.
So today on Ponce, now we have those little robots on the sidewalk. I don't know what they do. It's your name or Danny.
They deliver food, I think.
But
By the way, oh, you see them now on
Yeah.
Ponce? Okay, I got to tell you this. My brother-in-law in Frisco, Texas. So he posted a video to the family chat last week. A drone delivering Walmart.
Walmart has drone delivery.
You knew that? I didn't know that. Walmart drone delivering like a box of Mike and Ike's for the kids or something, like for you small things. They sent a drone to the house. The kids are going bananas in a good way.
They're going
Like,
to spend. to see the drone.
Absolutely. You get candy or snacks and a show. Hook me up for that for one low price. All right, back to the story. The cool thing about these devices, well, there's a lot of not cool things
You know
about
where
these
the flip
devices.
phone came from?
Motorola?
The design. The guy copied it from Star Trek.
Really?
They had the little- they had a-
Oh, it's fabulous. I love that.
Huh.
Hmm.
Interesting. Look, these bring together a lot of separate entities, a lot of separate devices, unifies and harmonizes. And the question is, can we do the same with our own lives? So what I want to do now is we're going to jump into the text. Now, I have copies. So please take and pass, and please take and pass.
Yeah.
I'm going to put up the text as well on the computer. And we're going to begin. So this is literally, beginning from the beginning. What's important to note is that this text is beautiful and deep and mystical. What we're doing today is just scratching the surface of the opening few lines. All right, so that's the point of today. Give me one moment. I'm going to share this with our online crew as we speak. All right. Shayna writes, by the way, on the chat, and I already wrote back LOL, as one does, right? You didn't want to have friends with a 0 in their number when it came to Rotary. That was always like, oh my gosh, I got to go to 0 now? Gotta be kidding me. We're not that close. All right, here we go. We're going to begin. This discourse was authored 19th of Kislev in the year 5668, which is 1908. So it's going back over 100 years. Obviously, it's drawn. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, but this is, although it's from 17 years ago, it's drawing from thousands of years of Jewish mystical tradition, and it's based on a verse from the Book of Psalms. Most Kabbalistic texts, original Kabbalistic texts, are based on or are kind of launched from a verse from Scripture. And the way it does it is quotes the verse, asks some questions, and then it gets into the mystical conversation. So what we're going to do for the next 8 minutes till 11:30 is read the verse, the opening verse, and ask a few questions. And I also want to connect it, although he doesn't answer it yet, I want to give some answers. All right, so the verse is from chapter 55 of the book of Psalms. Psalms was written by King David. He didn't write all of them. He compiled some. Some were written by predecessors. There are some that were written by Moses, and some written by Abraham, and some written by Jacob, and some written by even the sons of Korach, which is an interesting story unto itself. But this is his composition, and this was an original composition. King David writes, "My soul was redeemed in peace because of the many who were with me." In the Hebrew, it's pada b'shalom nafshi mikravli ki barabim hayu imadi. My soul was redeemed. I'm going to read it again in English. My soul was redeemed in peace because of the many who were with me. Now, I do want to point out something in the text, even before we read the next part of it. It implies that there's a redemption that is peacefully and a redemption that might not be peaceful. You see that? My soul was redeemed in peace. That implies that there's two elements. There's redeemed, and then there's in peace. Hold that thought. I'm going to come back to it in a moment. Regarding this verse, the Talmud is a great repository of Jewish law and ethics, values. The Talmud states, God says, listen to this, whoever occupies himself with Torah study, acts of kindness, and praise in a congregation will be considered as if he redeemed me and my children from among the nations, which is a bit of a cryptic statement, right? God says, it's almost like we're quoting God, even though God didn't necessarily directly say this, but it kind of means this is, God's, that if we do three things, Torah study, acts of kindness, and communal prayer, then it's like we're redeeming God and redeeming his children
from the nations. Okay. Rashi comments. Rashi explains that the primary Talmudic and biblical commentary explains the following regarding Torah. In other words, what's the connection between Torah study, acts of kindness, and communal prayers? He says, look at this. Regarding Torah, it's written, all its ways are peaceful. So Torah is correlated with peace. The ways of Torah are peaceful. So of course, studying Torah would bring about a state of peace. Okay, great. And what about acts of kindness? Acts of kindness bring peace between man and his fellow. So certainly acts of kindness, love and kindness and generosity and being there for someone else, of course that fosters peace. And the third element, prayer with the congregation, that's indicated in the verse when it says, because of the many who were with me. Who are the many who were with me? Communal prayer, standing shoulder to shoulder, side by side, with people together in common prayer, praying to the Torah creator. That's what it means that many who were with me. So again, if we go back to the original verse, my soul was redeemed in peace because of the many who were with me. So the Talmud says, what does this mean? What are the elements of redemption and peace? Number one, Torah study, which generates peace. Acts of kindness, which generate peace. And prayer with others, because those are the many who were with me. We're praying together as a congregation. Wonderful. And one more paragraph for today. Through these three activities, redemption takes place in a peaceful manner. But it's implicit that redemption on its own does not happen peacefully. And that's what I noted before. There's two types. There's redemption on its own, and then there's redemption that's peaceful. Only because of the aforementioned practices of Torah study, acts of kindness, and communal prayer is redemption peaceful. So now I want to jump in. We read the piece. This is the opening piece. And by the way, if you're thinking, well, how come we're not getting clarity after this opening piece? Because it's way too early to get any form of clarity, but I do want to give a little bit of clarity over here. I do want to give a little clarity. I mentioned, and the fourth paragraph also mentioned, the last paragraph that we just did, that there's two types of redemption. First of all, what is redemption? Talk about that in a second. But there's redemption that can happen in a peaceful fashion and redemption that can happen in a non-peaceful fashion. Give you an example. Let's say there's two warring entities. Two entities that are fighting. There's two ways that you can achieve redemption. Your side. Number one, destroy the enemy. Take him out. And now there's no conflict anymore. You won, Mazel Tov. The second option is peace. It's very different. Peace implies almost I don't know if the right word is reconciliation or conciliation or some sort of harmony, achieving harmony between the two forces. You're not getting rid of the other force. You're achieving harmony with the other force or between the two forces. There's redemption that happens in a non-peaceful way and redemption that happens in a peaceful way. Two different modalities. One thing the Kabbalists always are very quick to point out is that whenever we're talking, and Kabbalah most often talks about what's inside, not what's outside. What's inside. When it comes to the internal conflict that we have, and I mentioned three areas, between good and evil, higher and lower, and amongst physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, the different components of us, the Kabbalists always emphasize that the goal is not to get rid of one, to eliminate one. The goal is to harmonize. The famous verse from Exodus that I've quoted many times, right? When you see the donkey of your enemy crouching under its load, and you might be tempted to walk away, the Torah says you got to help. You have an animal suffering, even though it belongs to your enemy, you got to help unload the burden, and the animal's, it's crouched. You got to help. And it's a beautiful lesson. Right? Don't take out your grudge against this guy on an animal. It's not fair. In and of itself, Dayenu, that itself would be worth the price of admission, to the biblical playground of verses. That itself would be enough. But then the mystics come along and say, the donkey is not the donkey. And the enemy is not the enemy. I mean, it also is, but it's also internal. If you come along because you've become spiritually enlightened and you realize that your inner animal, your inner donkey is your enemy because it's holding me back. Imagine if I didn't have a Yetzer Hara, an evil inclination. Imagine if I didn't have a lower self. I would be a perfect righteous. I would be a tzaddik. Be amazing. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the spiritual gains that I could have if I didn't have this thing pulling me down, this animal? And all I want to do is disregard it and make it crouch under its load and break it, maybe through fasting, maybe through other forms of kind of self-deprivation to deprive my body. You know, so I don't want my body so strong. I don't want it to be an opposing force to my soul. And there are a lot of spiritual paths that teach this. That asceticism, right? Moving away from physical is the way you achieve the spiritual. That's never been a Jewish path. It's never been a Kabbalistic path. Kabbalah says the goal is not to blow up the other side. The goal is to harmonize with the other side. Redemption in peace. Pada b'shalom. Redemption with peace. What does that mean? You got to make friends with the donkey. You got to make friends with the animal, your own animal. You got to figure out how to bring it on your side. Rav tevuot b'koach shar. You can plow your field, right, with an ox better than with a human. You want to put a yoke on yourself and plow your field? Not going to happen. You need an ox. The inner animal that can sometimes pull you in a negative place, if harnessed the right way, can accomplish amazing things in a positive way, but only if you treat it as an ally, not as an enemy. The moment you treat it as an enemy, then it becomes one or the other. Then it's either soul or body. It's either higher self or lower self. We love binary thinking, either or. Pada b'shalom nafshi. What is harmony? Okay. You know, Kabbalah likes speaking about numbers also, numerology and everything. 1, 2, 3. 1 is singularity. There's no conflict with 1. If you're in a room and you're deciding what to eat for dinner, hopefully, if all's well, right? There's no conflict. You're just figuring out. 2, now there's disharmony. 2 automatically, I know could be that it's not, but typically 1 is singularity. 2 is now dissonance, now friction. 1 pitted against 2. Now you have 2. 3 is synonymous with shalom, with peace. What's 3? 3 is the ability to bring 1 and 2 together. I feel like this class is sponsored by Sesame Street and the number 3, right? 1, singularity. 2, dissonance. 3, harmony. 1 is not harmony. You ever call a soloist harmony? You wouldn't. Harmony means there's diversity, but they're singing together. That's what harmony is in music. Harmony, and we're not always playing the same note. Huh? Oh, blending together, figuring out a way how to make it work. It's easy to say, oh, you play brass, I play wind instruments. Oh, I don't talk to you. Oh, it's so weird. Oh, you play that. Oh, I don't fraternize with y'all, right? I play guitar, you play flute. Forget about it. I don't even know if we can be in the same room together. I mean, I'm saying something, right? I don't think anyone would ever say this. If you're a musician, you realize like we don't have to play the same thing. On the contrary, if we all play the same thing, that would be boring. If you all sang the same note, would it still be boring? What's beautiful, and it's true with art as well. Art is beautiful when there's a harmonization of colors or harmonization of themes, bring different things together. It's true in life, in everything. It's multiple factors working together, and sometimes not always in perfect harmony, but working together with it, sometimes little jagged edges that creates beauty. Little jagged edges are not so bad as long as they're on the same page. So it's easy to say, oh, I would be spiritual if I didn't have this body to lug around. Imagine if I just had a soul, like in heaven. Wow, that would be great. I would never have a bad day in my life. But I have to lug around this body with me, schlep it like a ball and chain everywhere. This is like, that's so unnecessary. So unnecessary, right? Let me go the way of like the Eastern philosophies. Let me go and just, separate myself from the world and engage in like, just wear simple, robes and just go on the top of a mountain and just, say goodbye to real life and, quit my job and that's it. And what does Kabbalah say? Take it easy. Pada b'shalom nafshi. You can find the redemption by harmonizing, not by eradicating, not by cutting out that part, but by harmonizing. How do we bring together all the pieces? Not how do we blow up the pieces that are not perfectly fitting into the initial narrative? How do we bring more people into the narrative? How do we bring more features, more factors in? It's not about getting rid of our ego. It's how do we get the ego on board with what's really right? How do we get, right, all the parts of our personality on the same page? How do we blend all the parts of our day to make sure they work together in harmony so that we live each day meaningfully and purposefully? Not saying, well, if I want to live meaningfully, then I'm not going to eat today. Bad example today, but like, or I want to live meaningfully, so I'm gonna quit my job then. It's how do we live meaningfully in a way that combines all the things in harmonization? And so I know we just started, but what are the three things that he says? That the Talmud says? Torah study, prayer, and acts of kindness. Aren't those hitting the physical, the emotional, and the intellectual? We think about like, how do we bring together the parts of the disparate part of our personality? Well, maybe acts of kindness, physical, communal prayer, emotional, and Torah study, intellectual, all aimed for a higher purpose. Look, we're just beginning this journey, but the goal is Pediya B'Shalom. The goal is not just redemption, right? Which is a weird word. I know we don't use that colloquially in like redemption, but like the goal is not just, redemption. It's redemption, pada b'shalom, redemption in a state of peace, which implies harmony. Think of it as the three, not the one, certainly not the two, but the third, the factor of three. All right, so this week, here's some homework. This is going to count on your permanent record. So you got to make sure to turn it in next week. I'm kidding. This is just internal stuff. I would even say, for step one is to pay attention to the areas of friction, the areas that you feel in your life are not harmonized, the parts that feel like they're outside of where maybe you want to be, maybe outside of where you think like if you were designing it from scratch, like maybe it wouldn't have that part. Maybe you wouldn't have that, that distraction. Notice those pieces. And then this might be too advanced for step one. Try to think about how to even bring those on board, how to bring those in. The goal is not to cut out anything yet. We're not looking to cut out things. We're looking to harmonize, how to make things work. The greatest artist that I've met, and Mariana, I go back to you. Mariana's a phenomenal artist. It's about using different media, using things and bringing it together. Bring it together in a way that works. As a guy who draws stick figures, I'm probably not the most to comment on art, but right, how do we bring together media? How do we bring together, things, people? It's easy to cut out people. Oh, you don't fit into this. I'm not cutting out people. How do we bring everything? Hey, Mariana, how do we bring everything together in harmony? It's like this guy, coach of the Harlem Globetrotters back in the day, right? Abe, what was his name? Abe something.
Abe started with an S.
Definitely a Jewish last name. Anyway, he's watching cable TV. He can't sleep one night. He's watching cable TV. This is back in the 70s or 80s, and he comes across a Farbrengen of the Rebbe in Brooklyn in 770. And he's like, wow, this is great. Like I got to meet this rabbi. And he goes and runs there. Abe Sachs. Yeah. He runs down there and he somehow gets in front of the rabbi and he says, Rabbi, I'm a coach. And without missing a beat, the rabbi says to him, perfect. We need a coach. Whatever you are, absolutely. We were missing a coach. Now we have a coach. We didn't have a coach with like Harlem Globetrotters a minute ago. Now we have a coach. Great. Bring him in. We need it. We have, right? This is a symphony. And we need a coach, right? Let's go. Bring it in. Bring it on. What do you have? How can you contribute? Let's go. Lend your talents. Imagine if we told ourselves that. Imagine if we were as generous to ourselves as we are to others, as we should be to others. And we told ourselves, right, internally, right, this part of my personality that sometimes drives me crazy. What's good about it? How can I, using modern terms, leverage it, right? But how can I bring it in, right? How can I harness its potential for something amazing? It's going to add to the flavor of our lives. So listen, we're just getting started, but it's all about harmony, all for the sake of heaven. Kol l'shem shamayim. Everything should be unified, right? For the higher purpose and for our own higher purpose. That's the goal. That's the goal of life. Who doesn't want to live unified, harmonized? Show me someone who's like, no, I prefer to be, pulled in 1,000 directions and feel like half my day is wasted. I definitely want to feel like that. Who feels like that? Everyone wants unification. All right. So that's the goal. We're getting started. This is the first session that we broke into the text. We're going to be studying this for the next few months. So join us. Ideally each week, but don't worry if you miss a week or two, join whenever you're back, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I do want to mention, welcome to Sarah.
Hi.
First time here. We don't even have, we should have a bell or something. We should have something. I don't know. That's way too sophisticated. But anyway, welcome. Glad that you found us, literally and metaphorically. It's good to have you. Well, I just want to say hi to everybody online as well. Dr. Maxie, great to see you. Mariana, great to see you. David, good to see you. Welcome back. Glad you're feeling better. Frank, good to see you. We have people from across the country and across the world. This is really beautiful. Shashi, great to see you.
Thank you for the class. Beautiful class. Very inspiring. Thank you very much.
Well, my pleasure. My pleasure. Always a joy to study Kabbalah together. Shayna, good to see you. Renata, good to see you. Renata, by the way, guess who's in town? Rabbi Chazanov, Mrs. Chazanov. We were enjoying Shabbat together. Natan, great to see you. Jackie, great to see you. And of course, our in-person crew. Great to see you guys. Great to study together. Good? All right, what's going on this week? Quick overview. Tomorrow, we have our 55 and over Taste and Torah Club tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Tuesday night, Torah study, weekly Torah portion, 7:30 p.m. Wednesday at noon and at 7:30. Our new course is called Fascinating Facts. We'll be up to lesson 2. Lesson 2 this week, the theme is, one second, what is the theme this week? The theme is, why am I blanking on it? Amazing stuff. It's going to be amazing this week. That's happening on Wednesday. And then Thursday, Tanya is still on hiatus for a few weeks. We'll pick back up in August. So stay tuned for that. All right. That's it. See you guys. Have a wonderful week. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
See everybody.